if you're going to do anything in your business and you're a business owner, you have to do the highest wage activities if you want to generate the most money. Now, if you don't want to, that's okay too. If you really enjoy some like admin task, then that's fine. But if you don't enjoy it and your goal is to make the most money in your business, then you need to work on the most important tasks. And so what tasks are you doing that software could do? Hey, what's up? Welcome to the Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaire Show, we help people make more, work less, and live awesome, amazing, abundant, incredible, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious lives. I am joined by my Polish co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, brother?
Yes, what he said.
I don't know where that came from, and we'll probably never use that word again in my life.
Supercalifragilistic and
dude. Well, I'm amped up, man. I'm excited. Like a lot of cool stuff's been happening.
So something really happened recently. Cool. So what does it tell us about it? It
was cool, man. So check this out. So we use Keap in Lifeonaire. It used to be called Infusionsoft, which the joke was it's called Confusionsoft. And so Keap had their annual event. It's called iKON. And it's an event of speakers and networking and the whole function and the purpose of the event is really to help business owners kind of level up in multiple different areas. And of course, since Keap is a sales and marketing automation software, there's a big emphasis on that, right? And Keap is very lifestyle oriented as a business. Like they talk a lot about creating space for business owners, and they have a great mission and they have a great purpose about empowering business owners. And they have this award, and it used to be called the Small Business of the Year Award. And they actually broke it up this year into two different awards. And I'm not sure if this is the first year they did it or not, but they have two awards. One is the Let's Grow Award, which is for kind of business growth, development, results. And then they have a Power of Purpose Award, which is awarded to a business that's really kind of like doing some really cool things in the community or in the world. And they split these two up. And I decided to enter the Let's Grow Award. And about a week ago, I discovered I was a top 3 finalists, man. I was like, what? Like, no way. Like, what? Because listen, man,
that was my first reaction. What? Him? What?
I know, man.
Are they drunk over there? Like,
what are they drinking?
On?
What are they drinking? The Keap over Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid, the Keap Kool-Aid, I guess.
Yeah. So the Let's Grow was for the beard. Is that what you're entered in? Like, grow the beard?
It could have been the Okay, so hold on. I just found the purpose statement of Keap, which I love this, man. It says our purpose is to liberate, empower entrepreneurs to strengthen families, communities, and economies. So that just really resonated with me right from the top. But anyway, so I get this finalist notice and I'm like, dude, what? Because listen, Keap has over 125,000 users. Like this is the #1 sales and marketing and automation software in the world. So it's legit. It's not like there's like 10 users, right? And people that you and I have heard of, like everyone from Donald Miller of StoryBrand to Lewis Howes.
Some major players in that company that
Frank
are using
Kern,
them.
And real businesses as well. Like so Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services, they all use this software as well. So like there's like legitimate people in here. And so I get the announcement and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I just thought that was gonna be the end of it. And I was gonna die happy, right? And then we go to the event and they watch your video, which I submitted. And like, I basically,
I watched it.
I didn't, it was just brief. Like I didn't pay attention as much as I should have. I didn't realize it was going to get judged. And I'm like, oh man, there's no chance I'm going to win this thing. Like there's just no way. And dude, this is kind of crazy too, but like, they had a section to, so the way the day was organized, they had, a speaker who actually went over. And they went late, and then we had like a 15-minute block to review the video submissions for the top 3 finalists, and I was last. And literally, man, as soon as mine starts, there's a pop-up window that says your next session is starting, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, well, maybe it's better because like I don't have to embarrass myself. But dude,
I concur.
Man, I ended up, I get a call from Keap and they're like, hey, are you going to be around for the award ceremony? We're going to have all the finalists on the line together. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And dude, I get in there and it was me and the other category winner, who this is amazing man and woman who are doing it's Gina and Hal, who are doing quilts for Ukraine, and they have put together a business that is basically providing a conduit, is my understanding of it, between people, and they do this themselves, of like sewing and making quilts, and quilt makers shipping them to them, and they're shipping them to Ukraine. And to date, they've done over 13,400 quilts to Ukraine.
Wow.
Like, it's amazing, like so amazing. Like, and by the way, all of the finalists were incredible. They're like amazing. Like I was watching the other videos for the people I was up against. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get crushed. Like these are amazing entrepreneurs and business owners. And so he announces it, man, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm still in shock. It's still surreal. It hasn't hit me yet. And so I have a call with Clayt, the CEO and founder of Infusionsoft, next week, and we're going to talk about some things. Or it was Infusionsoft back then. It's Keap now. And I love what, so Lifeonaire, and he talked about Lifeonaire and the conference. He said, like, Lifeonaire is about helping business owners and entrepreneurs like live. There's a lot of overlap. They're trying to live a great life, and the way that Keap is contributing to that is through automation, right? And automation is a huge part of this whole thing, because as I shared, like, it's like, getting things off of my plate. And automation has to be accompanied by some other things. You can't automate everything, but automation, by getting things off your plate, is a huge step towards doing this, man. And so I'm still on cloud nine, man. I just couldn't believe this happened.
So hold on. So for the audiences, so you won, right? So
I won the award. Yeah.
All right. So my first impressions on that is congrats, man. That's freaking awesome, because it's a big acknowledgement of what you've done with the company and how you've grown and all that kind of stuff. And immediately after that, what follows is like, so you can't be winning on looks. So that's a no-no. So you can't be looking at the, muscle. Well, maybe muscle. Yeah. Okay. Because you got some on it. Can't be the beard. Can't be. So what the hell? Like again, what are they drinking over there? They gave you the award. So I'm thinking what they're only drinking is the whole conversation about what I think we should be talking about in this thing is, like, what is the number of reasons? Think about it. We talk about this in Lifeonaire here about creating your business and setting up your business in such a way that it supports your life.
Yeah.
And one way of doing it is what, we, like, I'll give you the credit, what you created on this seed method. And I think that's what you've basically been doing and utilizing Keap in order to create that particular strategy, put the strategy in place, correct?
Dude, totally. And for those of you who are not familiar with what Peter's talking about, like, so we created this cute little acronym called SEED, SEAD.
No, that she said cute. Yep, he created this. It's cute. I had a different acronym, but I guess somehow I got overruled on that. I don't know how that happened.
Well, yeah. So in the process, it stands for strategic elimination, automation, and delegation. And it's something that we teach, and we share this with Lifeonaire students and people in the community. And it's essentially just kind of what we found to be a formula. I kind of call it like a freedom formula, man. Like I like that term, because it's a stepwise process that, if you follow in order, will lead to you really having freedom in your business. And Keap is a huge part of that, because and by the way, dude, automation is the favorite part of those three, because remember, you got the strategic part. Now, the strategic part is, we've talked about this before, it's based on your vision. You got to spend time there. And that's what dictates how what your business is going to look like. But then you have elimination, automation, delegation. Elimination, yeah, that's not super exciting to me, but dude, automation does get me excited. Like I joke in the video that I created. So Greg Jenkins, one of the guys who is really pivotal in helping me get this award. And by the way, shout out to Greg, as well as Tyler Garns and Nate Campbell of Box Out Marketing. Those guys were, none of this would have been possible without those guys. And Greg has this really funny parody video on YouTube about Queen's Gambit, man. I don't know. You saw Queen's Gambit, right? That was a really cool series. And you know how she sees like the chess pieces moving around the ceiling when she's sleeping? Yeah. She's like looking up. Well, Greg did this hilarious parody of like campaign Infusionsoft elements moving around, and like goals and like strategies and campaigns and all these arrows and decision diamonds. And like, dude, that was me, man. I love doing that.
Really? Now that makes me worried. That's what you got going on in your head?
Dude, that's what's going on in this noggin up here at night. Like, dude, Elena, just the other day, she's like, there's something weird about you. Like, because
She just discovered that after being married with you
well,
how long?
So here's what sparked this conversation though, is her dad gave me this waterproof notebook, and I was working out in the pool yesterday. I was doing laps in the pool, but I'm getting ideas while I'm swimming. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to forget this. And so like my next strategy here is I'm going to see if I can actually, my plan is to get to the end of the pool and just write down, I'm going to have a notebook at the end of the pool. And as I get to the end of the pool, I'm going to scribble some notes and then keep swimming. But I also do that, dude, I do that at night. Check this out. Hold on. I got this pen, man, on Amazon. I have a notebook next to my bed, and check this out, dude. You see that?
Yeah, it's got a light.
It got a light on it, bro. So like in the middle of the night, I get ideas and I just reach over and start scribbling, and I turn the light on. This pen has a light, dude. It's awesome. And I get these ideas. And so this is
Elena, you can reach out to me if you need to have a conversation.
Dude, she's like, something's not right. Woman. Like she's like, I don't know anybody that gets like just random ideas like you. I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know. Have you ever talked to somebody? I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, it's not like. I'm like, no, it's like, and
listen, I can talk to you. I'll give you my calendar link. You can schedule.
I'll book a coaching call with you.
Yeah, sure.
Well, dude, but here's the thing. Like, but you know, and Tyler Garnes has said this, he's like, if you can imagine it, you can automate it. And that was just really exciting to me because there's so many parts of business that we shouldn't be doing. If you're an owner, you shouldn't be doing it. And yeah, you got to give it to somebody else. And to me, that's a little bit of a harder skill to learn, is how to lead, delegate, hire, manage, like all those things. Mm-hmm. But automation is very much so within, I think, everyone's grasp once you have an understanding of it. And this is easy to get some help with as well, and to get educated on it as well. And so there's just a lot of potential, and you know, that's something that I've spent a lot of time developing within Lifeonaire. You know, when right. I first came to Lifeonaire, dude, Steve Cook, the founder, he's like, hey, you know, I think we should cancel Infusionsoft. And I was like, well, hold on a second. Because at that point, and he was justified in saying that, because quite frankly, we weren't using 10% of its capabilities. And it was, you know, expensive for not getting any return for what we were doing. You know, you could have just used MailChimp or Aweber or something. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Let me dive in. And I dove in, and little bit by little, man, I'd say we're well over, I'd say 90% of harnessing the software's capabilities, which of course will never be 100% because the software continues to develop and evolve, and the things, and I think of different things, and you know, so that maybe that 90% is really like 60%, but it's a lot, you know, it's a lot more than it was.
So listen, so let's talk about this a little bit, because I think that's what Keap comes into to help businesses in a big way, is the automation part, not so much the other one, not so much the delegation part, not so much the elimination part, but the automation part. So the question becomes, because, you know, in the seed method, so strategic elimination. So the first thing you got to do is just look at certain things that you can actually eliminate, because you don't want to automate stuff that you can actually eliminate. So let's say we just did that, right? So we've eliminated a bunch of stuff off our plate as a business owner, because we don't need to do this. We're just doing this for whatever reason that's not really necessary. If we got rid of it, it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference to our business or our own personal growth, whatever it might be. So now the automation comes. What should we look at as far as the automating? Because we can automate everything kind of thing. And sometimes certain things we shouldn't be automating, because why?
Yeah. So I think let me answer the second question first, man. Like, so the things you shouldn't automate, I think, are the things that do require a personal touch or large degree of customization or one-off. Like, so for instance, like if you're just going to do something a couple times, or it pops up a couple times a year, it's probably not worth automating. You know, now if it's happening a couple times a week or a day, then for sure, maybe even a couple times a month. But like things that, you know, you really need a personal touch for, I wouldn't try to automate. But you'd be surprised, you know, man. I think about how much people are surprised at how much you can automate and have it feel good. You know, one mistake I think people make with automation, and by the way, just so you guys have a little heads up, we have an automation expert coming on the show pretty soon here. I don't want to give away who that is yet. So they're gonna expound on this a whole lot more than I can. But essentially, I think, you know, the automation stuff, I would look at, like, you know, where are you dropping balls? Where are you doing things? Like, so say, for instance, dude, for example, like how many times, I know I've done this, where you make a new contact and you have every intention of the world of getting in touch with them. and their business card sits on your desk and collects dust, and then all of a sudden it's too late and you feel awkward and you're like, man, it'd be weird for me to call them now. Like, and you just let it die. But what if you had like a campaign set up, and a campaign is just simply another word for an automation set up that, for instance, you scan that business card and then automatically that person gets a call booking link with you, like, hey, John, awesome meeting you. I'd love to chat soon. Instead of playing phone tag back and forth, just click the link below and let's book a call together. And those little things. And now what you've done is like you've avoided dropping those balls. And this happens everywhere. Like, this happens in so many places. How about your business that you have a net 30 or a net 60 for your invoices and you have your accounts receivable? Well, you can easily automate that so that you're not chasing people down. Like, that's horrible. Nobody wants to do that. So you could have an email go out maybe, every 5 days or whatever your policy is with how you do collections. Like those are examples.
So listen, so what I'm hearing, the step one, and when it comes to the automation part, is you really got to step back from your business and basically become an auditor of all the things, like list out all the stuff that's happening in your business, what you're doing, what you're not doing, right? Because a lot of things that get dropped are the things that we're not doing that I want to avoid, that I don't want to do that because that's not the type of a person I am, right? Or whatever it might be. So the step one is literally looking as an auditor on your business, right? Totally. If somebody came in, looked at your business and not trying to be nice about it, or they just literally just look at it, what are the things that you're doing or not doing? And then based on that, so think about it. Let me ask you this. So now you got, let's say, 50 items that you put on there. Which one do you go after first?
Well, let me back up first. I want to emphasize what you said, because that's really the first step. Is like, picture you've just gone to IKEA and you've gotten some sort of piece of furniture, and you go and you open the box and there's your manual, and you see that exploded view of each different part and how the whole thing fits together, the overview. Mm-hmm. You got to have that for your business. You got to know all of the different moving parts of your business so that you have a comprehensive kind of overview of what's involved. Because so many times, and I get it if you're not going to get it right the first time, but you got to take the time to do this so you can see like all the moving parts. Like, imagine trying to put together an engine, and not having a picture of how it's supposed to go together. Like that your business is your money-making engine, right? This is your income engine. Right. And so once you do that,
sounds to me like you've put some IKEA furniture in the past.
It's what?
Sounds to me like you've put some IKEA furniture in the past.
Oh, bro, I love putting together stuff. Like, another thing.
But so exploded view of the business.
Yeah.
It's important, because I think a lot of times what ends up happening, think about when we talk about the Lifeonaire, the life part, what do people don't do ever? They don't write their life vision. It's like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out, whatever.
Yep.
And here, what we're talking about, you got to really look at the exploded view of the entire business, what it actually does, how it actually works, what are the things that you're putting in there and things like that. Yeah, be the auditor of that business. All right, continue.
Yeah. So I think that there's a couple different criteria that I would probably use, in what that I've used at least, in making sure you choose the right things to do first. And it's all priority, and everybody's priorities based on what you're trying to accomplish in your vision. Your business is a little bit different. But some of the things that I look at is like, hey, what are the things that that are either low wage activities? Like, that's the number one thing. Like, what are the things that I can get off my plate that it's like, I could pay someone $10 an hour to do, but guess what? Even better, I can have a program do it. I can have software do it. Like, so what's the lowest hanging fruit there? What are the things that are sapping because listen, if you're going to do anything in your business and you're a business owner, you have to do the highest wage activities if you want to generate the most money. Now, if you don't want to, that's okay too. If you really enjoy whatever, some like admin task, then that's fine. But if you don't enjoy it and your goal is to make the most money in your business, then you need to work on the most important tasks. And so what tasks are you doing that software could do? And the thing I love about software is it does it the exact same time every single time. Like, you don't have to worry about it taking sick days or time off or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's doing it same way every time. And so I'm looking at the minimum wage activities that I could automate. I'm also looking at for the biggest holes in my bucket. Like, so what's one area that's really costing us a lot of money, and it's usually due to poor follow-up, for instance. Like, follow-up is a big one. Many of us have heard multiple times about how the money's in the follow-up, the fortune is in the follow-up, whatever little, alliteration you want to use. But follow-up especially is important. So what are the things that allow you to fill those holes in your bucket? Now, if you're using a bucket as an analogy here, you go with the biggest ones first, because that's where the money is, or the water is leaking out of. And then as you plug those, two things happen. Sometimes you can go down to the smaller holes, or sometimes that the pressure increases in that bucket and you'll pop another hole. And usually it's a smaller hole, but at the same time, like you got to realize sometimes, like as you kind of automate things, you'll recognize like, well, gosh, I didn't even now I have this other thing over here.
Starts to reveal another holes.
Yeah. Cause dude, automation, man, it's an amplifier. Like it will magnify if you're inefficient and you're doing things kind of like really unorganized and it's chaotic, it is going to amplify that like significantly. But if things are pretty good, well, then you might be all right. So you have to know how to do it, right? You have to have a clear process and understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. And so that's important. And you got to take the time to do that and maybe have somebody walk you through that if you're not familiar with that.
All right. So what I'm hearing from that conversation, there's two different places that you can look in for automation. One, low wage activities. If you're $10 an hour, you shouldn't be doing this. And two, what are the biggest bottlenecks or holes in our business that if we plug that in, it will have the biggest impact on, let's say, the revenue or cash flow, those kinds of things, like, because those are going to have a big impact. And so now we're looking at that. Yeah. Right. So let's say you pick some of those activities. My next question for you is this. I'm putting you on a spot here because
I know, man. Like I wasn't expecting the interrogation here.
You're the Keap winner of the year, right? So might as well just keep going after that. So next question is this. Should you be the one automating it or should somebody else be doing it?
Man, well, I'll tell you, like I have mixed feelings in this. So my perspective is like, I really enjoy this. Could somebody else do it better than me? Absolutely, for sure. However, one thing that I have found, like, so before working with like, Tyler, for instance, at Box Out, I had tried a couple different Keap consultants and there's Keap certified partners. And I did not have a whole lot of success, but it wasn't their fault. It was my fault because I didn't know, number one, what the system was capable of. And number two, I didn't know our processes. So I didn't have a good grasp on the company either. And so it wasn't even these guys' fault. And so if you're going to have somebody else automate it, you still got to know your stuff. You still got to
they got to know the stuff.
Yeah. Like
the processes on the company.
Because this person like needs to have a really deep understanding of what you're trying to accomplish and all the different moving parts. And, as I started diving into this myself, I realized I kind of didn't give these certified partners a chance to succeed because I didn't have a good enough grasp and understanding of my business. So if you're going to have somebody else do it, you still got to do your part is what I'm saying. Or somebody in your organization has to be very intimately familiar with the different parts of the business. Now I just do it because, well, quite frankly, because I love it. Now you could probably pay a certified partner to do this for you for, I don't know, $7,500, maybe a little bit more per hour. Which is
$7,500 per hour?
No, like $75 an hour to $100 an hour. Maybe for a super pro, you could go $150 an hour, somewhere in that range. Yeah. But hold on, man. Rusty's trying to get up my lap. All right. Yeah, Rusty. Sorry, guys.
You didn't automate that part.
Yeah, Rusty's here. He's
making a debut on the show.
Yeah, Rusty's debut on the Lifeonaire show if you're watching us on YouTube.
So it's interesting how I earlier in the conversation I said I got poke at you and ask you questions because you are so-called Keap winner, and now you literally.
I knew you were going to go there with that, man.
That's to the audience.
Okay, dude. I saw that coming.
So he does have a wiener dog, okay?
So hold on. I forgot what I was talking about now. Oh, yeah. So you could hire somebody to do this, but you got to know your part. And the reason I do it, like, and we talked about people with this too, Peter. Like if we talk about this when we, like, for instance, Business Builder Workshop, we'll say, hey, if you're a rehabber, and by the way, we're talking about property here, not like a rehab, like drug alcohol rehab. If you're a rehabber and you love swinging a hammer and it's therapeutic for you and it brings you joy and you're not necessarily concerned with making the most money in your business possible and getting that project done as quickly as possible, then go ahead and do it. And so for me, I love doing it. And, yeah, I want Lifeonaire to do well financially, but like I also want to do what I want to do. Like I'm not in business just to make money. Like I want to love what I do. I want to make an impact, and this is a way that shows up for me.
Right. So I think it's a really good point, because when you start looking from that perspective, it starts to open up how you go about doing the business. Because one of the things that pops up for me as we're talking about, and like, for instance, I don't know if you remember that, when was it? We had the Business Builder event in Raleigh a while ago when we had the hot seat. Business owner was up in the hot seat,
yeah.
right? And we started having conversation, asking him about his business and giving us a picture of the business and things like that. And he was a flipper slash rehabber, right? And he was a wholesaler, was in his business and things like that. So we were talking about trying to figure this out, how to do this. And one of the conversation pieces was that, automating certain parts of the wholesale business to be able to go and do certain things, that takes the time and all that kind of stuff. Now, at the end of the conversation, or sometime in between there, what came up is the idea, what if, you just eliminate the whole side of the wholesale business, just focus on this, because that's making you the money. That's, making the least amount of time and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, the whole light bulb opened up for him. And he, in the end, I think he basically eliminated the wholesale business. So the thing that pops up for me in this conversation is that be careful what you automate. So don't automate something that you eventually don't even have to do it. Yeah. Just in his. So here's my question for you. I don't know if you have something to say about this, but my question
things,
to you is...
Hold on with that question, though, man. You ran into him at the summit, and what did he say to you?
That he took, eliminated that part, and now he's basically in stage 4.
Yeah. Which, and by the way, for those of you who are newer to Lifeonaire Show, stage 4 is where your assets provide all of your income, or the needs for your income.
And all he had to do, which because he's so much in the business that he didn't see it, right? That's one that it's outside picture, kind of have a conversation, kind of poking in the business helps. All he had to do is just change one thing in his business, which is that part of the business. And now he's in stage 1. Before he was struggling like crazy.
Yeah, totally
in certain ways. So, all right. So here's my question to you. Did you have something other point about this?
One other thing, and this may lead into your question, man, is he, in this particular case, and I'm very careful to say particular, because somebody else might have a part of their business and they're like, hey, this piece of my business isn't, it's taking up too much of my time. And let's say that it is something you can automate and get off your plate. Well, if it's producing money for you and you can automate it and the numbers work and it makes sense, you don't have to eliminate it. You could just automate it and keep it running while you're doing your other things in your business. So each case is a one-off scenario where you really got to dive into the business and look at it, in its details.
Right. And then that's why, business vision and life vision are so important and crucial, two documents that are so crucial for you to make sure that you're automating the right things that will get you closer or faster or whatever you want to call it towards that end result, towards that vision. Because you don't want to automate something that you don't need to automate. So here are my questions. What are some big mistakes that people do when they talk about automation and do automation?
I think the biggest mistake, well, two mistakes. The biggest one I think is not having an understanding, we kind of touched on it already, as to what your business looks like. And when you do that, it creates a mess, man. There's a story. It's called The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and it's a Disney book. And so Mickey Mouse is the sorcerer's apprentice, and he's like the sorcerer makes him do all the stuff that's not fun, like clean
and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
And if you remember the story, like the sorcerer goes into town one day and he leaves his magic hat and Mickey's there, and he's looking at the hat, and he's seen the sorcerer make all these awesome things happen. He's like, I can do that too. And so he grabs the hat and he creates a spell for the broom to start cleaning and to fill up the water buckets and transport the water. Well, all of a sudden this is really automation, right? The broom starts cleaning and the buckets start moving, and all of a sudden they start overflowing the water because he doesn't know how to turn off the automation, the brooms. And so he breaks the broom in half, which now turns into 2 brooms, and now it doubles the amount of water, and like it just keeps multiplying. It creates this huge mess. And then the sourcer comes back and he's like, like, what have
It
you
gets
done?
out of control.
Yeah, it gets nuts. It
Yeah.
goes out of control. He tries getting axes, and it just doesn't work. It just creates a huge disaster. So you have to have your process. You have to know what your processes are. First of all, you got to know what things, you have the exploded view first. Once you do that, you'll have all these different items. And we like to use like mind maps a lot in here, and a tree diagram. Then you have your processes, right? And then from that process, which has to be fairly well understood and really smooth, now you can automate it. But don't try to automate if you don't have a streamlined process, because it's going to create a mess, just like Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's number one. The second biggest mistake I see is when people they're not ready to automate, because either number one, they don't really have it kind of relates to number one, is like, they don't know what their business is fully doing yet. They don't have their systems developed yet. They don't really know enough about the business. Or quite frankly, maybe sometimes they're too small scale, like, or they're not ready yet. Like, so for instance, let's say you just formed a business, and it's exciting. It's sexy to like just want to automate right from the start. And, I think there's a rosy picture painted of automation where, you're just going to collect checks in your underwear and life's going to be good and you never have to work. Like that's not true. That's not true. That's a silver bullet that does not exist. You got to do some work. You got to get up to speed. You got to hone your craft. You got to probably do it yourself to some extent first, or have somebody else do it. And like, you just got to kind of work through it. So I think automating too early is a big mistake. The other mistake I see on the other side of that coin is like automating too late. Like, so now you have a large amount of chaos in your life because you're running around so busy with your hair on fire. You can't even step back out of the business to like worry about automation, because you're on that treadmill and you are moving so fast that if you take one step off to the side, you're going to crash and burn. And so like, you waited too late to automate. So I think timing is one huge factor in that. Aside
so how
from that,
you know when's the right time?
I think as soon as you start to see scale occurring and you start to kind of have a good idea of what that process looks like, that's the time to automate it. Like, as soon as you know what that process looks like, automate it. Like, that's probably the best time. Like, I think we're paying like, I don't know, man, like $300 a month or something like that for Keap, somewhere in that neighborhood, a few $100. That's the cheapest employee you will ever have in your life. $300 a month to do all these different things, right? And maybe you have 100,000 contacts, and it's going to cost you more, or whatever. Like, Lifeonaire doesn't have 100,000 contacts in our database. We're constantly scrubbing and removing people that aren't responsive. And so,
am I still in it?
Have you gotten any emails from us? But we want people that are engaged, and if this isn't, we're not here to bug anybody or clog anybody's inbox. And so the other thing I was gonna say though is another mistake is, as I see, is thinking that the automation is done. What I mean by that is, like, I kind of view automation as an evolutionary thing, meaning you're not gonna understand everything in that first version. You're not gonna have the best copy or process, but you're going to go back and revise it periodically. Like, I like to go back, 2 or 3 times a year to all of our campaigns, to all of our automations, and look at it with a new set of eyes. Hey, gosh, why did I set it up this way? This is a way better way to do it. And like, you gain and you learn constantly. So it's not set in stone. Now, it could be if you want it to, but I think one of the key fundamental processes of business is that process of improving, of getting better, of developing. Right. And so like, so I don't set it and forget it. Like, that will work, but like, I think you'll just stagnate when you could be better, Now, let me also give you the other side of that coin, is like, don't get caught up into the endless improvement. There has to be a real improvement in terms of like a tangible result. Like, this isn't just an intellectual exercise to keep you busy. Like, if it's working, great. Well, let's take a look at it, but don't get consumed with like the constant improvement either, because that's the other side of the coin. I think it's a distraction of sorts too.
Yeah, I mean, I think what needs to happen is, when you're looking at that, going back and forth, the decisions that you're making, whether or not you want to alter something, things like this, got to be based on data.
Yeah,
because at some point you're going to get some data, right?
Yeah,
you're going to look at like, what are the opt-ins and how many leads and what's a follow-up, how many people are, like, for instance, if you all of a sudden, let's say you have 3 or 4 emails in that campaign, and this one is a 20% open rate. This one is a 30% open rate. This one is a 5% open rate. Okay, what happened here? Right. Yeah. So now you start looking, it's like, okay, my subject line, let's change the subject line to see if I have a better open rate on that, or split it, or things like that. So data is going to tell you everything, I think, that you need to know as far as which part you need to update and things like that. Because some of the things you may not really like, right? As a personal perspective, right? I wish I could change this, but if it's working, why fix it?
Yeah, totally, dude. And that's one of the things, like, even that we use with Keap as well, is like I have reports on my dashboard for, hey, this is how many people are registered for our upcoming event. This is how many Lifeonaire members we have in each of our different groups. This is, our email open rates. Here's our billing 90 days payable. I can see whose payments have failed. I can see, all these stats, and that's kind of a little bit of automation as well, because those numbers are being automatically updated through what we've set up. And so that helps you get a better grasp on your business as well.
Okay. Well, so here's my next question. So you've automated this thing. You've looked at what to automate. You've seen some mistakes that you shouldn't do. Now, let's say you put something in place. How do you know that this thing is working, and make sure that, you're not doing something completely often?
So you have to test the automation for sure before you ever launch it. I'll tell you, every single time, for instance, like I can send a test email to myself. I'll design this campaign, which again is just this series of automations all put together into one package. And every time I test that email, I'll open up my inbox. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I forgot that. I didn't notice that. I made a mistake there. And then you run a test contact through there, so you see that it works the way you expected it to be. For instance, I'm going to be launching a training here very soon on this seed process and how to create a business full of freedom. And I'm testing the webinar. It's gonna be a webinar. It's a live webinar. I'm gonna be hosting it, and we are testing to make sure it works, so that you get the joined link that is unique to you, and you get the reminder emails, so you don't miss out on this. And so, but you got to test over and over again every campaign, because there's been I've heard some horror stories of people that didn't test and, like, for instance, sent out the wrong email to 10,000 contacts, or, something like totally inappropriate, like that should not have sent out. And so you got to keep an eye on that, man. And that's just laziness, quite frankly. It's not, sometimes you think you're like, oh, I've doing this for so long. I know what I'm doing. I can do it. No, don't, that's your ego. Don't let that get the best of you, because you're gonna make a mistake,
So I like the fact that you're talking about sending an email to yourself as you're testing. One thing I think we'll need to clarify, because I think this is what you mean, is that email that you put in is not your business email that you're actually inside that software. You got to put up another email that's you as a subscriber, not as owner, because you as an owner of that, you have a different permissions and things like that. So you got to have a completely separate email that's like a Gmail, and one of those like Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, to one, make sure that it actually gets in your inbox, not being, killed by the spam bots. And two, that is actually like a subscriber, comes from that place as a subscriber. So
yeah, totally.
Right.
Yep, that's
anything else?
No, man, I would just encourage everyone to consider. Now, by the way, like, there are other automation softwares out there I am basically familiar with on a surface level, but I really prefer Keap quite a bit. Look at your business and figure out what can you automate? Because you can do so much with automation. Like, for instance, we have automation and everything from our sales process to follow up to new member onboarding, to texts, to calendar links, to even the podcast that's automated. If you're a guest on the Lifeonaire show, you get an automated email reminder when you get here, and you get other things as well. And so we really automated a lot of these things that previously other people had to do, which, like, I always, if possible, if it makes sense, automation is always superior to delegation, because, like, it gets done the exact same way every time. And, it's less expensive as well. And so, like, I always prefer it if it's appropriate. Right. So look at those opportunities in your business to find that, because it makes all the difference in the world. If the business depends on you, you don't have a business, you got a job. Right. And so look for this opportunity. This is an important step towards, Could you imagine like, assembly lines back in the day where everybody was doing those manual parts? Now you have machines doing it, right? Like, and so you have machines at checkout lines now. You have so many. It's just technology, right? So I think you got to embrace it, and look for opportunities to employ it.
Well, I just went out to dinner with my kids and my wife a couple of nights ago, and we ordered, right? The waiter came in, we ordered. And then about 10 minutes later, this little robot just pulls up with a trace of our food.
Seriously?
Pulls up to the table. Oh, yeah, man.
Dude.
And the crazy thing is, so like literally they call him Rosie. I guess it's a female version of it, but he pulls up and like turns and gets up to the table, and we can literally take the plates off there. But it's still, they had to have a waiter come in and push a couple of buttons for Rosie to go back home, wherever she came from, right? But the thing is, they're starting to look at the different automation process. And I want to encourage you as a client, not as a client, as a listener to this podcast, when you're automating the business, just make sure, because you can automate 30,000 things in your business, just make sure it doesn't take away from your core values of your business, right? From what your business is about, right? Because if it starts to take away this human touch and you're showing your business a kind of a personal kind of a thing, and now it starts taking away from that business core values, you might be shooting yourself in the foot, right? You're granted you're automating, but now the quality of your relationships with your clients and things starts to decline. So here's the thing. I know there is, as you're listening to this podcast, you might be having about 30,000 questions that pops up out of this conversation, because every single business is the same, but at the same time, it's very different, right? But it's very personal. Like we just talked about this one person that we had a hot seat at the event. Well, we have a business builder event coming up, and I would say that we would be doing people the service if we didn't bring it up and mention it, that you can come out to the business builder event that we have in December, that they can work on their business for 3 days very intentionally and basically do all these things that we kind of talk about here.
That's right. Yeah, we go into depth on how to do the seed process. We cover marketing. We cover structuring your business, how to break it apart, how to get that exploded view of your business. It's really A to Z. We call it a 3-day MBA. And by the way, when you're listening to this, is going to influence whether or not that event already passed. But guess what? We do them every year, and we have 2 or 3 a year. And so just make it out to one of the other ones if you're listening to this after December.
So as of this recording, the event is in December 8, 9, 10 in Raleigh.
Yeah, this one, 2022. If you're listening to this, yep.
And if you get past it, so if you go in there, just go to lifeonaire.com. Under events, there is a business builder tab on there, and you can find the current events that we have on there. And I would encourage you to just, sign up for it. Come on.
And by the way, those tickets are guaranteed. You can come to the entire event. And if it was not worth what you paid to be there, we'll refund every single penny. Never happened, but that is in place for you as a testament to how powerful we believe this event is.
And Wojo is going to do a dance for you.
That is not true. But you're man. Yeah, you can't be saying things that aren't true, man. Like it's going to ruin our credibility.
That part, I think we can't we? I think
you can dance.
Anybody concur with me?
Peter will polka. Peter will polka for you if you guys like get her. And we can get Peter to polka Peter instead of Polish Peter.
Well, let's not do another what do you call it? Fake
nickname.
News when you're on nicknames.
All right, listen. We hope you guys enjoy this ridiculousness here. Got something out of it, and really, seriously, do something with automation. It's awesome. If you have questions about it, shoot us. Go in the Lifeonaire Facebook group. We got the private Facebook group. I'm in there. Peter's in there. We can help you out. Leave us a review. Leave us a rating. Tell somebody about the podcast. We would love to change and impact more lives. Until next time, we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye bye.